All right, everyone, we're now recording, so welcome to the Board of Aldermen meeting. If you'd all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic, one nation, God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the April 19th Board of Aldermen meeting. First up, we have minutes of the previous meeting, April 5th, 2021. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion, debate, suggested changes to the minutes? Hearing and seeing none. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying
Aye.
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 those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are on to outside the rail. Do we have members of the public who wish to address the board on matters not on the agenda? I am hearing and seeing nothing, so we will move on. First up, communications from the mayor. We have mayoral nominations to remove from the table. The nominations for boards and appointed officers. This is page 1 of your packet.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to remove from the table, and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Now, typically here we would entertain a motion to circulate a ballot box. We, of course, do not have a ballot box because we are all remote. So what we do have is Attorney Bloomer, who I do believe is on, is going to now send a link to your email. It's going to come from something called A Doodle, and it should say, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, official ballot.
This one's actually going to say 4-19 votes on mayoral nominations, just to see if that is less apt to end up in a spam filter than whatever we sent last time.
Okay.
So I will hit send, and then you can hopefully see that within a few minutes of that.
All right, so Attorney Bloomer is going to send this all to you now. Please first check your email. If you do not see it in your email, check your spam folder. If you don't see it in that, please send me a message through GoToMeeting, or you can text me. And we're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to stand down for just a couple moments to let everyone get their vote in right now, in troubleshoot in case we can't find it anywhere. All right, so we're going to take just a couple minutes. Okay, I believe everyone has voted. Attorney Bloomer is just checking up on one thing. So we're still under communications from the mayor. Mayor Allaire, if you want to go on to contract award recommendation, the municipal scoping study. This is page 2 of the packet. Perfect.
Yep. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. The memo speaks to the recommendation I'm making of Du Bois and King to be awarded a contract for a municipal scoping study. This is for Center Street. This is the scoping study that you authorized there to go out. We have received one bid, only one bid, and that was from Du Bois and King. It is within the budget that had been put forth. Following the municipal scoping study, and that is finished, there would be a final design, but that would be a step that would be the next one down, the next step. So right now we're just talking about the municipal scoping study. If you have any particular questions about numbers or anything else on that, Brennan is on the call. You can ask him. But my recommendation is for the Board of Aldermen to authorize Du Bois and King, or be awarded the contract for the municipal scoping study for Center Street, and have me sign all the related documents. That's a request.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend, and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor of suspending the rules please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve of the firm of Joyce and King to be awarded the contract for the Rutland City STP municipal scoping study and authorize the mayor to sign all the related documents on behalf of the city.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none, would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mayor Allaire, do you have any additional items for us?
Yeah, I do have one other thing that I didn't put on the agenda. This is more of an update for the situation down at the Quality Inn. I just want everyone to know, the Board of Aldermen and the members of the public, that I have been in continuous contact with the state, in particular the Agency of Human Services, with the Rutland County Legislative Delegation. We have also reached out to the adjacent business owners on the south side of the city. I have spoken to at least one residential property owner down there who has been in contact with others. And also, I've had a phone call with representatives of the Green Mountain Shopping Plaza, where Hannaford is located, all with major concerns. I lay this all out to you to let you know that we are continuing to try to find a solution at the Quality Inn, which I continue to believe, and believe more than ever, it's totally unacceptable. I think the state needs to come up with an alternative to the situation down there. They need to understand what our concerns are, the resources and personnel that we're putting into the time down there, and the fact that there has been 2 loss of lives down there. It's just unacceptable. I do have an opportunity to speak to the delegation this coming Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. Their regular meeting. I plan on, again, voicing my concerns that I have previously to them in person, and I'm going to be doing that along with Chief Kilcullen. We want to make sure that they understand the repercussions of really doing nothing. And also the next day, on Thursday, there has been a meeting set up between at the behest of the Rutland City Police Department. Commander Sheldon has been in charge of putting this meeting together, but he has put together a bunch of stakeholders, which include the state. I believe Rutland Town has been invited. I'm not sure if they're coming, but I hope they do. Myself and others. Again, just to reemphasize the situation and the concerns that we have, and hopefully, not hopefully, but insist that the plan be put together on their end to address not only the situation at the Quality Inn, but the situation with housing the homeless throughout the state. We know that there's a need. We are in the middle of a COVID pandemic. I don't disagree with the concerns of the advocates out there. We're not looking to try to move people who don't necessarily need, or that do necessarily need these services, but there is a lack of control, a lack of oversight, and there's a lot of people that are staying down there that shouldn't be. So we're continuing to work on that, and I wanted to make sure that I gave the Board of Aldermen an update on that, and I hope to have some more information for you in the very near future. So that's it.
Thank you, Mayor Allaire. Any questions from members of the board to the mayor on this subject? Alderwoman Davis.
Mayor Allaire, with all that you've said, is there a way to hold the property owners some responsibility? I know that it's contractual with the state to house these individuals, but I think there's also a responsibility for oversight and the impact that it's having on the city, its resources, and certainly the businesses within that area. So, you know, is that a consideration of some accountability to the owners?
So the answer to that is yes. I've actually met in my office with one of the owners of that property and several others that are in the city and throughout this part of the state. And we have been having a continuous conversation at my level with them, as well as with our health officer, who has been spending a great deal of time down there. Again, reemphasizing the concerns we have, not just safety-wise, but also with any infractions that might be happening health-wise and the way that they're operating their buildings. So we have seen some improvements, minor improvements on the building, but again, there's not an ability, we don't feel at this point, to move to, let's say, the end result would be to shut the building down. You would still end up with a significant population that has nowhere to go, or would end up in other similar type situations. So the ultimate solution to this is to have a partnership and a realization from the state that that the way that they're going about the issue here of homelessness and the COVID pandemic and all of these things coming together have to be addressed at their level with our cooperation to alleviate the lawlessness and the lack of oversight that's going on, not just this building, but I think in others. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Lair. Are there any other questions from the board of the mayor? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to go back to Attorney Bloomer to read out the results of the vote. And just right before you do that, Matt, I know there's a lot of callers on here. If you're phoned in, please hit mute. I've muted a couple of you just because of background noise, but I want you to be able to talk when the time comes. So Attorney Bloomer, if you would go.
Sure. Let me just pull it back up.
Order. Sorry, my voice is
Before the results are read, it seemed like there was an option to abstain. Is that parliamentary proceeding? Are we able to abstain from voting for a reappointment for one of these appointments, or is it just yes or no?
I just actually checked the Board of Aldermen's rules of procedure, and it does not require for the secret ballots that everyone be voted for. In effect, I guess an abstention is a yes vote because the charter requires 7 members to vote against a mayoral nomination. But I think folks are free to abstain if that was their intention.
Thank you, Attorney Bloomer. Alderman DePoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just for future reference after this. I can't do it now, but I think that we should look at changing the board rules, that if you are here present, that you should be voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman DePoy. Were there any other questions related to that? All right, Attorney Bloomer, if you would you please read off the results?
Sure. Alvin Fiegel for Planning Commission was 11 yes, 0 no. Patrick Griffin for Planning Commission, 11 yes, 0 no. Rebecca Mattis for Planning Commission, 11 yes, 0 no. Dave O'Brien for Planning Commission, 4 yes, 6 no. Sarah Roy for Planning Commission, 11 yes, 0 no's. Matt Reveal for RRA, 4 yes votes, 6 no's. And Andrew's, I apologize, Andrew, I don't know if it's Sternest for zoning administrator. Okay, all right, I'll get it right soon. Is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you, Attorney Blomer.
So everyone that was up for nomination is confirmed.
Thank you. Mayor Allaire, before I let you go, did you have anything else?
I did
Alderman
not.
Franco?
I'm all set. And I'm all set tonight. Thank you.
Alderman Franco, I saw your hand.
Yes, I guess this would be a point of order. I'm not sure. I guess I'm concerned with whether or not the individual who may have abstained may have intended to. We have no idea since this is a secret ballot. And I would just hate to see someone abstain accidentally due to electronic voting that we do not normally do under typical circumstances where we would have done in person. Is there any way to redo it or to have an option where they intentionally select abstain? Because I didn't see an abstain option on the ballot so much as someone would have not checked one of the options.
Attorney Bloomer, I'm going to ask you your thought on this.
It may be worthwhile to go into an executive session if that's
Okay.
the board's pleasure. We don't have one set up for tonight because actually I was going to take my executive session off of the agenda, but I can quickly send out a link to go into executive session.
Sorry about that, Matt. I had to mute a caller who had some serious feedback there. Could you repeat that quickly?
Yeah, so we don't have a link set up right now for the executive session because there wasn't going to end up being one tonight, but I could set one up quickly and email it to everybody so that we can have a separate room.
Alderwoman Davis?
Like getting a low rate on a downtown lot? We can help find the right lender. Or move out of the city since you're virtual now? We can find you loans for that. Want to refinance your home, free up cash, and redo your kitchen/home office?
You mute that, please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so my first question is, did anyone reach out to the city attorney or the board president requesting assistance to vote? Because I believe that was put on the floor.
No, nobody
Okay.
did.
So as far as I'm concerned, you had the opportunity to vote. The vote has been done and counted, and I have no intentions of wanting to go into executive session. I think it's time to move on.
Alderman Franco, followed by Alderman Garuso.
Yes, I just want to clarify that if this is truly said and done, then we shouldn't see a shift if the intention was of the individual to abstain. I simply want to see an actual abstain item option for someone to intentionally select. I think that would certainly clarify what the true vote was of all of the entire board.
Thank you, Alderman Franco. Alderman Garuso.
Yeah, I just was curious. I haven't gone anywhere. Are we sure it's an abstention, or are we sure it's a mistake? Do we know what it is, or we're just guessing?
I think just by the nature of the vote, we don't know unless someone were to divulge that either they won, didn't vote. Because that being said, they may be unsure if they made a mistake. Alderwoman Davis, I saw your hand.
Well, just that an abstention is an inappropriate vote. Unless you have a conflict of interest, you're related to the person, you have a vested interest in that person, you're to vote yes or no. So I'm sorry if there was a mistake, but again, there was an opportunity if you were unsure or unfamiliar to reach out to the chair or the city attorney. And I think these people, I don't know what the underlying discussion is, and I really don't care. These people have stepped up to the plate and they've offered their services. That's a lot. And I'm thankful that they all made it, and I think it's time to just move on.
Alderman Dunges, followed by Alderman Talbot.
So I understand that the default is to say a yes, according to what we've quickly discovered in the short period of time that we have, when a no is not selected or a yes is not selected. I understand that that is currently the perspective. However, historically in the past, using this tool, we have not had the option to not select a yes or a no. So we have always had that verification and validation that if we didn't select a yes or a no for a candidate, that we would not be able to proceed with the vote. So the history that we have would force us to choose a yes or no. As the yes or no wasn't chosen, I don't know if this is parliamentarily allowed, and a mistake could be possible, but if a mistake is what's been made and we choose to move forward with a potential mistake, then I don't think that's doing the best thing for the city. I think the best thing for the city and the citizens is to possibly, and I don't know if this is allowed, like I said, revote. Shouldn't take that long. And the person who chose to abstain can either choose to abstain again or choose no, right? So that gives us a validation and verification. I don't know, Matt, can you help us figure out if that's correct or not?
I guess I would reiterate that I think it would be best to go into executive session. Maybe during executive session, somebody could indicate whether they intended to abstain. That would get us at least some more information. And we could have a further discussion.
I'll make a motion moving into executive session then.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to enter executive session and has been seconded. Matt, Attorney Bloomer, do we need
What's the
specific?
basis for this executive session?
I think the basis would be confidential attorney-client communication or whatever I think it's like the 7th criteria under the executive session statute. Basically a conversation with the attorney.
And Mr. Chairman, this is the mayor. If I could just interject very quickly before you vote on going into executive session. I just want to reemphasize what was stated by Alderwoman Davis earlier. These people have stepped up in a voluntary fashion to serve the city of Rutland when over the last several years, it has been incredibly difficult to find people to step into these roles and to do so, you know, in a responsible way. And my hat's off to these people for these folks who have volunteered their time and put their name out there in a non-political way to serve the city. And to go through this exercise, I think, is doing an injustice to them, let alone to the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Allaire. So we do have a motion that has been seconded to enter into executive session. Are there any further comments, discussion, debate? Given the nature that this is likely to be not a unanimous vote, I will ask that the clerk take a roll call vote. So if you would initiate a roll call vote.
How do I vote? Tom DePoy.
No.
Tom DePoy.
No.
Carrie Savage.
Yes.
Sam Garuso.
No.
Michael Dunges.
Yes.
Michael Talbot.
Yes.
Sharon Davis.
No.
Billy Gillum.
No.
Paul Clifford.
No.
Evan Neary.
Yes.
Got everybody? Who am I missing? Who did I miss? Oh, Thomas. I'm Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
No.
Votes 5-5. Attorney Bloomer, is this a simple majority or 2/3 to go into executive session?
Simple majority.
Chair votes yes.
Okay, check your
Attorney Bloomer.
emails. Check your emails in a couple minutes. I'll generate the link and send them to you. Now.
Matt, how will the public be able to re-access this meeting since the thing hangs up when you guys go into executive session?
That's a great question. So when we go into executive session, it will kick you off. You can then sign back into the exact same meeting. When we reopen it, it'll open up for all of you. So you'll be in a waiting room in a sense. Yep. All right, Attorney Bloomer, did you send the link?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. While we're waiting, we can do additions and deletions to the agenda. We do have an item to be added. It is, if someone would make a motion to add under the Board of Control Commissioners an application for a first and third class liquor license for Muckenschnabels.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and it has been seconded to add to the agenda. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Attorney Bloomer, I'll just ask your advisement on this quick. Should we wait and should we go into the executive session now, or should we just wait until the end of the meeting and do it? Does it really matter? Attorney Bloomer, if you're talking, I can't hear you. All right, since we're still waiting, let's move on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. Up first, we have Barbara Spaulding, RRA, Lincoln Place, PM-4, designation. This is pages 3 and 4 of your packet. Barbara?
Yes, good evening. As in your packet in the memo, I mentioned that this PM4 form will designate the RRA as the responsible entity for the grant administration for the $498,000 VCDP grant for the Lincoln Place project at the former IHM school. So we're asking that the Board of Aldermen approve the chair's signature on behalf of the aldermen on this form PM4 so that the RRA will be able to perform the grant administration for this grant.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to suspend the rules and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'll move to request that the chair sign on behalf of the Board of Aldermen on Form PM-4 that designates the RRA to perform the duties of general administration for this BCDP Lincoln Place grant.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion, debate, or questions? Hearing and seeing none, would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Very quick before we go on to the next thing, Attorney Bloomer lost his connection. He did get back to me. We can take up that executive session at the end, as we are really just trying to clarify what is happening. So we will go to the agenda, take it up at the very end of the meeting. So up next, we have Brennan Duffy, RRA Director, BIAP recommendation. This is page 5 of your packet.
Good evening, everybody. So the RRA has a recommendation for another BIAP grant applicant. In this case, IBJAR is looking to open up a new restaurant at 56 Strongs Avenue, which is the past space for Lenny's inside job, Big Lenny's. We have reviewed the application and it meets the criteria for the BIAP program. The applicant is requesting a $5,000 grant through the program to help them offset some of their fit-up costs for the space. And I think IBJAR is on the call, so he might want to take a moment just to further explain his project and answer any questions. But the RRA recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve the $5,000 BIAP grant with a final payment contingent on IBJAR receiving a signed lease agreement with the landlord.
Yes, thank you, Brennan. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here. Many of you might already know me. We've been selling tamales off of the church that I belong to, and it has expanded into a little business to deliver Mexican food. And I saw a great opportunity at 56 Strongs to offer something more suitable for the customers so that they can get Mexican food more often than just, once a week or whenever it is that they're craving it. So, waiting to get this grant to get me over the lease requirements so that I can sign a lease with the John Colas and be able to start my little business there.
Thank you. Any questions? Alderman Clifford.
No, I'm just going to make a motion to suspend the rules, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second. We have a motion to suspend the rules and seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Clifford.
Yeah, I would move that the board approve the $5,000 BIAP grant for Delicious Tamales with the final payment contingent on a signed lease agreement for the space.
Second.
Second.
One moment. Sorry, everyone. All right, we have a motion and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion, debate, or questions? Hearing and seeing none, would all those in favor of approving this BIAP recommendation please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And we're really looking forward to this.
Great,
Thank
thanks,
you.
everybody.
Real quick, one last reminder. At this point, I've muted 5 people already. I love it when people listen in. I want you to participate. Please mute your phone or at least turn your TV down. It's a little much tonight. Thank you. Moving on. Up next, we have Treasurer Markowski, Treasurer's Report, third quarter ending March 31st, 2021. And this was emailed. Treasurer Markowski.
Thank you. There's a lot of material in the report tonight. With the quarter end, we're reporting on all of the city funds, including the special revenue, capital project funds, any other funds held. So there's quite a bit more. So I try to summarize the information to make it a little bit easier to get through. having said that, I would like to offer that if anyone is interested in looking at the report, we always post the quarter end reports on the city website for the public if anyone would like to see those. I want to focus on a couple of things that maybe aren't in the packet, but important when looking at the delinquencies. Tax delinquencies, we're seeing a little bit of improvement, and water and sewer delinquencies are growing. I want to point out that in December and January, the state had offered assistance on utility bills past due. So we were able to help quite a number of ratepayers with that, and the state is going to do a second round of that assistance program. It's a little bit different, so the city's role is a little bit different, but it's important because it's direct assistance to landlords and renters. So we will, as they unroll that, we'll put some stuff on the city website to link some residents if they want to be part of that program. It's really important, and just having gone through a little webinar last week, I think I just wanted to share that. And I'll move along through, if you looked over the summary information, it's pretty positive in looking at the general fund. Our non-tax revenue is higher than we had projected, so that's a good sign. And in looking at expenses, we're right on target there. We had lowered our expense. We had cut a few things from our budget and said, we're going to try to realize some savings this year. So we've been monitoring that quarterly, and we're right on target there at 75%. So hopefully, if all things remain the way that they have been with revenue and expense-wise, we should end the year favorably to provide some relief toward the tax rate when we're setting that in July. So a couple of things. I think all departments are staying within those the budgets that were set. So that's a positive thing to keep monitoring. Fund balance summary, I just provided a little bit so you could see what was happening in each of the funds, and added a capital project fund for the acquisition at CSJ. So you would see that as an add in the packet. And and I'm also working with on the pension side, just of note, to schedule a pension meeting so we can look at where we stand with the pension, how we performed for the last year. And I would like to refer the third quarter report to the Finance Committee for a more detailed review to look at the numbers and address any specific questions.
So moved. Thank you. Right, we have a motion to refer. It has been seconded to the Finance Committee. Any discussion, debate, or questions? Hearing and seeing none, would all those in favor of the referral please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mary. Do you have anything else for us?
No, just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, up next we have Attorney Bloomer, amend cooperation agreement with Rutland Housing Authority. These are pages 6 through 14 of your packet. Attorney Bloomer.
Thank you. So I did put together a memo outlining the request that came from Rutland Housing Authority. I believe Kevin Loso is also, he was planning to join, and I think he's on the call if anyone has questions, but it's a fairly simple request just to amend the cooperation agreement to reflect the current number of units that are currently subject to the cooperation agreement. We've double checked whether that would change any of the current taxation, and it appears it would not. All of the units have been being taxed appropriately. It's just the document that needs updating.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend, and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor of suspending the rules please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'll move to approve amended number 3 to the cooperation agreement, substantially the form presented, and authorize the mayor to sign the amendment on the city's behalf.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? All right, hearing and seeing none, we have a motion, and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Attorney Bloomer, you are still up with Chief Lovett, USAR, and Swiftwater Rescue MOUs, pages 15 through 24 of your packet.
Thanks, and I will actually just turn it right over to Chief Lovett. I know that I believe I sent you a copy of the agreements earlier in the week, outlining a little bit about the program, but Chief Lovett can give you a little bit more in-depth description of what this applies to and why we're being asked to execute it.
Evening, everybody. What we're asking for tonight is for your vote to authorize the mayor to sign a standing agreement between ourselves and the state of Vermont. These are referred to as the USAR MOUs. It covers two aspects of the services that we provide with the state. The first one is to allow our equipment that they've generously donated to us on our behalf to be able to be used in time of need around the state. Part of the program was when we started in 2004, each area that had a team or a team that could be developed was awarded equipment. Currently, we're at about, I had told Attorney Bloomer, about $700,000 worth of equipment in training. It turns out, as we were counting it today, we came up with about $750,000. This equipment is basically stored in 2 trailers, and these MOUs allow us, if requested by the state, to have individuals within our department transport these tools to a scene of an incident. This is only for bringing the tools to the scene, the cost we incur by doing that, and then us returning eventually to pick up the tools and bring them back to the station. So this is not a deployment. That was one thing that my predecessor had reviewed with you folks in a previous meeting, and there was a lot of confusion. These MOUs only allow us the opportunity to send that equipment out around the state if it's requested. If they need personnel, well, then that becomes a deployment, and that's a different situation. The beauty of this situation is if we share the tools that they gave us, they will continue to keep adding to our inventory. Recently, boats became a question. Our boats are older, and if these documents were in place, boats, motors, and trailers could be utilized. As you've all known, since Irene, most of the time we've been using the boats has been on Water Street and Baxter and Cleveland Avenue. Had a lot of street running down there. And by us participating in this program, it will allow the state to donate more equipment to our cache.
Alderman Clifford.
Yeah, so Chief, you're just looking for a motion to adopt this?
Yes, to authorize the mayor to sign both agreements. One's for technical rescue equipment, and then the other one is for the Swiftwater assets we have here in the department.
Chief, I think they're set up for you to sign, so that would probably be more appropriate, just to authorize you as the chief engineer to sign the documents on behalf of the city.
All right.
Alderman Clifford.
Move to suspend the rules, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules, and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor of suspend the rules please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Clifford.
I would move that the Chief Lovett be authorized to sign these documents that are before us tonight.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion, debate, or questions? Seeing and hearing none, we have a motion that has been seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Lovett. Attorney Bloomer, your request for an executive session, you said you no longer need that?
Correct. That can come off.
Okay. So the request for executive session for pending litigation that was to be emailed, that is off of the agenda, which moves us along to reports of standing committees. And up first, we have Finance Committee. Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on April 14th. I've kind of rushed the month, apparently. Members present were Alderman Talbot, Gillum, Dunges, Caruso, and Chair Davis. Others present were Treasurer Markowski, Lynn Holquist, Assistant Treasurer, and Fred Duplessis, the accountant from Sullivan and Powers. The committee reviewed the fiscal 2020 audit completed by Sullivan and Powers. Mr. Duplessis gave a summary of the audit. A clean opinion was offered and there were no findings that were required to be reported. He discussed that the city had a good cash flow and to keep supporting the unassigned fund balance to maintain that cash flow. The enterprise funds of sewer, water were in good standings. The transit fund was stable, really no different than last year, even though it was affected by COVID and the last loss of the parking contracts. Revenues were larger than budgeted, and there's a slight surplus at the end of the year. A few internal control deficiencies were noted. Unavailable property taxes, penalties, interest, and related fees. The Treasurer's Office will review these internal controls to ensure proper recording and classify revenue sources for the tax sale. Capital assets additions. They will make sure that all asset activities have been properly identified. Retainage on construction contracts. The city will implement controls for contractors' invoices for unpaid retainage to ensure that all capital assets and liabilities are accurately reported. The Treasurer's Office has responded to these issues and a corrective plan is in place. In summary, the auditor was pleased with the city's financial position, and I submit this as chair.
Alderwoman Davis. Are there any questions of Alderwoman Davis?
I will just say that it was unfortunate that there was so little presence from some of the aldermen, especially those who are not familiar with the audit, as it is the financial foundation for the city. So if you have not had an opportunity to read it, please do. If you've not had an opportunity to pick it up at the Treasurer's Office, please do. And if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to the Treasurer, as this is critical information and certainly why we're elected to serve.
All right, if there are no questions of Alderwoman Davis, we are going to move on to Community and Economic Development Committee. Alderman Talbot.
Thank you. The Community and Economic Development Committee met via GoToMeeting on Tuesday, April 6, 2021 to review the request for Rutland City to join the Otter Creek Unified Communications District. Committee members present were Alderman Talbot, Alderwoman Sharon Davis, Alderman Neary, Alderman Dunges, and Alderman Gillum. Others present were Alderman Whitcomb, Alderman Franco, Alderman Clifford, Matt Bloomer, Jim Rotundo, and Amanda O'Connor from the RRPC. Alderman Talbot began the meeting by reviewing that this request was brought to the Board of Aldermen in February by Amanda O'Connor. It was referred to committee in order to review the potential impact on city infrastructure and any potential legal obligations that could arise from joining the CUD. O'Connor explained that broadband as it is currently defined, 25.3, is not sufficient connectivity for many households, and that the state of Vermont has a connectivity goal of 100-100 by 2024. OCCUD was created in July 2020 to facilitate a plan for build out in the region. OCCUD can only plan with the municipality in mind if that municipality's select board resolves to join. Alderman Clifford asked what advantages the city would obtain by joining. O'Connor explained that if, for example, Consolidated chose not to build out fiber in the city, the OCCUD would provide the mechanism and funding to make the business case to Consolidated or another provider to continue build out. Mayor Allaire asked if there would be any disincentives for a private company to continue building out fiber in the city if the city were to join. O'Connor answered no, because of the ease via which a municipality can leave, and that the OCCUD has no power to disincentivize or create barriers to build out for a private company. Alderwoman Davis asked what the benefit versus cost of joining the CUD would be to the consumer. O'Connor explained that fiber would allow consumers to upgrade to faster plans should they choose, but that they would be under no obligation to pay for the service. Alderman Neary shared a case in which a microelectrical engineer opted not to move to Rutland because the city did not have fiber connectivity, costing the city a potential small business and small taxpayer. He emphasized the importance of prioritizing fiber connectivity to support economic development. In response to engineer Rotundo's inquiry about impact on the city's infrastructure, O'Connor explained that should the state direct funds to CUDs to assist with the build out of high-speed internet in the state, there would be a pre-construction phase, including the development of an engineering plan. President Whitcomb stated that he felt there was limited exposure risk in joining and that it could help the region develop a competitive advantage to attract remote workers. Mayor Allaire concluded that he didn't hear any downsides and that joining the CUD would send a positive message about our commitment to upgrading our infrastructure, and he supported moving ahead. Conversations between the CUD and Consolidated regarding their plans for fiber build out in the city will continue, but joining the CUD will have no impact on those plans. The purpose of the CUD is to help facilitate a plan for build out in the region, but they have no intent whatsoever to act as an internet service provider. At the heart of CUDs is representation of local municipalities and their residents in the process of developing a plan for properly deploying fiber infrastructure. The motion out of committee is to recommend that the board join the Otter Creek Communications Union District and authorize the board president to assign a representative.
Very good.
So we have a motion and it was seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Alderwoman Davis.
So if I may, Attorney Bloomer, you had, there were some questions that you were going to seek answers to, and I believe that you had. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot. I don't know if you have them in front of you. And I believe that Commissioner Rotundo was going to do the same to look about the infrastructure of where they would connect, whether or not there would be any digging in the street, so to speak, connecting to poles and wires and where we would stand. Do we have those answers before we vote on this motion?
The one thing that I was interested in looking at were the bylaws, which Amanda did send to me the next day. And I did take a look at those, and there was nothing extraordinary in those. I think I sent an email just to point out to the board that the voting structure is one vote per town or city. So the city would have the same, voting power as everybody else in the CUD. It wouldn't be based on population or anything like that. Other than that, I had previously confirmed that it's correct that none of the city taxpayer funds will be used or are even allowed to be used to fund the CUD. It all has to come from outside sources. And the other piece of it that we were discussing was the ability to get in and out of the CUD. And I did confirm that that's correct, that with a vote of the board, the city can remove itself from the CUD at any point. One thing I did want to mention is that while it's legally possible, the way that the CUD is I think planning to move forward is that once it has a sense of which municipalities are in the CUD, they'll put together a business plan that they can then shop to providers that would potentially come in and operate the fiber network. And if the city is part of that plan, we'll obviously be kind of assigned a certain amount of, whatever method they use to decide that the likely number of subscribers that would come from the city. That will likely be built into the business plan and, be presented to these operators. So I did just want to quickly mention that while we legally can get in and out very easily with a vote, that it could be possible that once we have committed, that if we decide at some point that we want to get out, it could affect the other municipalities in that maybe the business plan wouldn't be viable at that point. So there could be, while would be the legal right to leave, there could be some other considerations as to the decision to leave. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Attorney Bloomer. Alderman.
I think you asked the question if they were going to be digging up our streets and stuff. I think that was your question. And although I'm not in the business or attended the meeting, I don't believe they'll have to, from having been in the radio business and whatever. I think these guys are, from what I know, somebody that can talk. One of your neighbors, actually, Sharon, can talk quite well about this and is very much in favor of it. He quite educated me quite well before it was brought to us. So it's pretty cool what they can do, and it's pretty wireless, most of it, from what he's told me. There's very minimal impact on the city. So that's why I supported it back when it first came to the board, and I think the committee did a great job on it, and I certainly support the motion and our involvement with this. I think it's going to save a lot of people a lot of money, and thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. Commissioner Rotundo, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to weigh in on. He may not be on. Any other discussion or debate or questions on this before we vote? Hearing none, we have a motion and it has been seconded to authorize us to join the CUD and for the board president to appoint a representative. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. And while we're here, so we are lucky in that we have someone who actually has done a lot of professional work in this capacity, and that is Alderman Franco. So I will be selecting you to be the representative, and we are really going to be leaning on you for a lot of communication back and forth. This is new to a lot of us, but it does feel like a really good opportunity. So big task ahead, but thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so up next we have reports of select committees, of which we have none. Reports of representatives. We have Alderman Talbot, the Regional Marketing Committee. Alderman Talbot.
Thank you. The Regional Marketing Committee met on Thursday, April 1st at 12:30 p.m. Members present included Bill Ackerman from Green Mountain Marketing and Advertising, Steve Costello from Green Mountain Power, Marianne Gillette from West Rutland, Nikki Hinman from the Downtown Rutland Partnership, Lyle Jepson from Cedar, James Lambert from Castleton University, Bill Moore from Brandon, Tracy Moore from RRMC, Kim Peters from the Rutland Rec Department, Kelly Robinson from Casella Waste, Brooke Rubright and Kim Rube from Cedar, and myself. Lyle Jepson shared a new proposal from LIFT, the agency executing the regional marketing campaign, to begin phase 4, which will target skilled job seekers in the New England area to fill the more than 140 professional level jobs currently on the Cedar job board. These are in addition to the 100+ open positions at RRMC. This phase will reach more than 500,000 people and be carried out over the next 9 months. A data report of leads from November through March was shared for review. The report stated that 4 families relocated to the region during this period as a result of the campaign, with 3 additional families with moves in progress. One family has a visit in progress, with an additional 22 families considered on hold for a variety of reasons. The Regional Marketing Initiative has sufficient funding to execute phase 4 and continue to the end of the year. An intern from Castleton's Media and Communication program is currently working as a videographer-photographer for the Regional Marketing Initiative, traveling to towns throughout the region to collect new content. He's also starting a new project that will be a regional video highlighting all 27 towns that will include information on Vermont's seasonal activities, school systems, and a brief overview of the concierge program. Lastly, a Whoopie Pie Festival is being planned for the weekend of October 9th. The day-long event is planned to include a public dance, a parade to celebrate heroes working during the pandemic, fireworks, and will culminate with a newlywed game at the Paramount. Similar festivals in Maine and Pennsylvania draw 8,000 to 10,000 tourists.
Thank you, Alderman Talbot. Are there any questions of Alderman Talbot regarding the Regional Marketing Committee initiative? If not, thank you. And we will move on to petitions, letters, miscellaneous communications, of which we have none. Board of Control Commissioners. I would entertain a motion to go to the Board of Control Commissioners.
Second.
We have a motion that has been seconded. Would all those in favor of entering the Board of Control Commissioners indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes, and we are in the Board of Control Commissioners. Okay, so if you all just bear with me for a moment. What we have here is a first and third class liquor license. And I'm going to ask John Duffy Jr., are you on the call with us? John Chaffee.
Mr. Chairman, he's my neighbor in my plaza, and he actually texted me a little while ago and said he was going to join us. So I don't know why he's not here.
I'll try this. John, you can hear you potentially were giving feedback and I muted you, but I won't be able to tell who you are because it would just say caller and a corresponding number. So John, if you're on and you can hear me, either look to unmute or log off and log back in. And while he hopefully is doing so, what we have is John appears to have or is in the process of purchasing Muckenschnabels. And so he is looking for a first and third class liquor license for that establishment.
And I'll authorize the clerk to sign it on behalf.
Second.
We have a motion seconded to authorize the clerk to sign the application first and third class liquor license. Is there any discussion or debate or questions on this? Hearing none. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I just called him and gave him that phone number, and he said he's going to dial right now, just so if you have any questions.
All right. Those opposed, real quick? Motion carries, but if we'll pause for 10 seconds. If he's calling in, I'd love to give him the opportunity to talk to this.
Damn it. Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Matt? Oh, hi.
Is this John?
Yes, it is.
John, the good news is we just voted to approve your first and third class liquor license, but since we have you, we would love to hear a bit about what you're doing.
Okay, so I was a bartender at Muckenschnabels when the original order Mucken owned it toward the end of his tenancy there, and you know, it's always been a place like home to me, and I feel I can you know, continue the legacy of Muckenschnabels. When people think of Rutland that are from Rutland and they're coming home, you know, a lot of them talk about the great times they had at Muckens, and I plan to continue that. I also plan to add some small food plate to the establishment, something that hasn't really been done in a very, very long time. I've been talking to the guys at Stagger Supply that have some small commercial kitchen appliances that would fit in the back room, so I can offer food to offer a better experience at the establishment. You know, I really just want to continue the legacy that Mucken had laid for us. You know, back and built kind of a legacy in Rutland, and that's what I plan to continue.
Thank you very much, Sean. Alderman Clifford.
John, I just wanted to say, good luck keeping that tradition going. I had the opportunity to bartend there years ago when I was 19 years old, so I know how long this tradition is going. And so I just want to say good luck to you.
Thank you, Paul.
Ancient history.
Alderman Caruso.
I just would thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to add about Roots in Rutland. I'm not a huge Facebook fan, but I saw, I think it was yesterday, someone wanted to know who the nice custodian man was who worked at the high school back in the 70s when we all went there, and his name was John Chaffee. That would be John's great grandfather, John Chaffee. So John has long time roots in the city, and hopefully, like Marty Muckinsnobble and all those, he will carry them on and be a successful business there. So we wish you well too, John.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you, Alderman Caruso. Thank you, John, for dialing in. Your license was approved, and if I'm not mistaken, you're going to have delicious tamales from you. Great synergy.
That's what I learned. That's what I learned. I look forward to talking with that gentleman, and hopefully we can collaborate on doing some things to make the corner great.
Very good. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you.
With that, entertain a motion to go out, Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and it has been seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are out of the Board of Control Commissioners. Up next, we have unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board? I am hearing and seeing none. So we're on to miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business. Alderman Neary, referral of the issue of adding a land acknowledgement as a standing agenda item. Alderman Neary.
Thank you, President Wickham. For those of you who might not know what a land acknowledgement is, a land acknowledgement recognizes that the native people of our land, especially in Vermont, the Abenaki, and it recognizes the importance of the long-standing history that brought us to reside here, and really seeks to understand our place within that history, and making that history not necessarily always in the past, but a really part of our present as well. So in order to do that, I would like to make a motion to send a land acknowledgement as a standing agenda item to the General Committee to discuss and invite a representative from the Native community from the Abenaki tribe.
So moved.
A motion, second.
Second.
All right, so it has been seconded. Is there any, Alderwoman Davis?
So, Devin, could you tell me why would it need to be a standing agenda item? And I have a couple of questions, so I'm going to ask that first. Why do you feel the need to have this as a standing agenda item, as it is not really, it's not really a particular item that the board will focus on a bi-monthly basis? What is the goal? What do you see this becoming?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alderwoman Davis. First off, I see this being very similar to the Pledge of Allegiance, in which we do at the beginning of every meeting, just to recognize, our patriotic duty and our sense of governance here at the local level. So it'd be similar to that sense, that we would be, acknowledging the Native history at the beginning of the meeting, similar to our history within the country with the Pledge of Allegiance. And really setting this committee, there is no, there's not necessarily, an agenda item as in that we're going to be discussing this in depth. It's more a part of our process in our average meetings. And what this really is, it's like I said, it's really an acknowledgement to put that history in context. And as from everything we've seen throughout the past year, I think it really shows good faith in the city. And this is really being done statewide with other communities as well as institutions like UVM and Middlebury College.
I have a follow-up, Mr. Chairman. So could you explain to me, similar to this, the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't get the connection between the two.
Yep, and that's why I would like to refer this to committee so we could discuss it further and really lay it out and learn more from not only folks on the board, but perhaps a Native representative as well.
And I'm not going to.
You're muted.
I'm not going to vote to send it to committee if I don't understand and I agree with the reasoning. So I need to understand how I would tie the Pledge of Allegiance to a land acknowledgement.
Yep, Alderwoman Davis, that was just an example. There isn't a direct connection, but it shows it in that historical, cultural context, that it's not a pledge like the allegiance, but it is a recognition. And I certainly implore everybody to learn more about it if you haven't, especially with a community that is dealing with, Native issues currently.
Alderman DePoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I spent 8 years in the Vermont State Legislature from 1999 to 2006. Land recognition and recognition of the Abenaki as a tribe was a conversation that we had every single year of the 8 years that I was up there. I bet they've had it close to every single year since I departed the legislature in 2007. One of the biggest problems with acknowledgements, both of the tribe and of land, was that if you acknowledge that this property that we sit on in Rutland City was taken from the Abenaki, then the Abenaki could then potentially claim that this land is theirs and they should be compensated either in today's dollars, tomorrow's dollars, or some dollars for the, I guess you would say, illegal taking of their property, something that, the land was theirs. And that's a very real discussion that kept occurring in the Vermont State Legislature under, while I was there, 4 years of Democrat rule, 4 years of Republican rule in the House of Representatives. And what I learned the most on that is that if we go down a very slippery slope with this, the problem is going to be that we're going to have to explain to our constituency why their taxes have just gone through the roof, not that they're not already through the roof, but even higher as those judgments and determinations of repayment for illegally taking the land start coming in. And when it does get to that point in the process, after this very simple, what seems like very simple land acknowledgements, as it progresses further, who determines at that point how much we would then owe for my corner of property at Stratton and Killington, Alderman Davis's on Baxter, yours on Killington Avenue. I think that you're not really thinking about the far-reaching consequences of this, of acknowledging land maybe not, maybe you're not trying to say it's owned by the Abenaki, but that somehow it is still theirs. And once we start down that road, start down that path, I would caution you to have a very, very large sum of money put aside that is going to pay for the property that this city of Rutland has. Because at some point it will go to court, and all they're going to have to do is say, well, the city of Rutland acknowledges that this is our property. So the city of Rutland owes us for this property. And that money is going to come from every single taxpayer in this city. All 11 members on this board, the mayor, whoever owns property in this city, whoever rents in this city, will pay via higher rent prices in this city. So a simple land acknowledgement, while on the surface may seem like an innocuous request, trust me when I say, hey, the Vermont State Legislature has stayed away from it for a very long time because they're not prepared to go back to their constituency and tell them why they had to triple, quadruple, quintuple their taxes to pay for the property that we now own. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Alderman DeFoy. Alderman Neary, do you want to respond to that real quick? Or
yeah, just real quick. Yeah, thank you, President Wickham. And thank you, Alderman DePoy. I appreciate your caution, and I do understand your history with the legislature and the land acknowledgement history with the legislature as well. You know, I think it's a far cry to say that this is a legally binding exercise by any means, but I also don't want it to be just a simple gesture either. You know, I look at this conversely as an economic development opportunity to say that we are a community that is looking kind of hard at our history, and also a very open, welcoming community that, you know, does things like acknowledge their history. So, you know, it could be a benefit to have a land acknowledgement and could attract new residents, perhaps. So I will say, you know, I think it's a far stretch to say that this could be some legal, you know, mess down the road. I think if we're talking land reparations, that we're so far off from that point, but I do appreciate your caution in that historical context within the legislature.
Thank you, Alderman Neary. Alderman Garuso, followed by Alderman Franco.
Yeah, I just said, I feel like we're kind of going back in time here, just with another subject. I mean, we've heard raiders and the bad things about raiders and many other subjects. And I stood in downtown and I saw the police officer doing all the meters today with a 5-gallon bucket, and there was probably 2 inches of coins in it. Where once upon a time they used to have this big thing that took 2 policemen to push around because there was so much change that the meters were so busy, and there were cars driving around the block trying to find a parking place, and the old parking deck was full of cars. And I see that we had bigger problems than we do than we now have bigger problems than we did then. And I don't understand this. And I know committee is a great place to learn about things, but I don't think it sounds like anything that's going to fix our problems that we have. So I'd like to make a motion to table it.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to table and it has been seconded. Attorney Bloomer, just so I have this right, that does take precedence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that a simple majority?
Yes, and no debate.
Roll call vote, please.
Very good. So we have a motion to table. It has been seconded. I will have the clerk initiate the roll call.
Tom DePoy,
Yes.
Devin Neary,
No.
Terry Savage,
No.
Mike Dungis,
No.
Billy Gillum, Billy Gillum,
Yes.
Can't hear, Mr. Chairman. I believe you left off with Alderman Gillum. Can't hear.
I apologize. My sound cut out. Alderman Gillum, I'm sorry, our sound cut out. We couldn't hear you. Did you say?
I said yes.
Sharon Davis?
Can't hear her.
Sharon Davis?
Yes.
Paul Clifford?
Yes.
Ian Caruso?
Yes.
Michael Talbot?
No.
Thomas Spencer?
No.
Five. Chair votes no. We're going to be discussing this next week. Let's do it tonight.
We can vote
The motion remains on the table to refer to general committee.
no. Chair voted no. Not take.
Second.
Okay.
So if there's no more discussion or debate, we are voting on whether or not to refer this item to general committee for further discussion.
Roll call vote.
All right. I'll turn it over to the clerk to initiate a roll call vote on whether or not to refer this to general committee.
No. Thank you. Brennan?
You can keep going because it's going to be 5-5 again. So.
Yes.
Jared? Barry?
I don't know if that's me. It's very hard to hear you, Tracy. I don't know what you're calling. If you're calling Sharon Davis, I vote no.
Terry Savage?
Yes. It was Sharon Davis, but you can't hear.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, someone's talking over us. I wonder if you can mute them.
Caller 25, Mr. Chairman.
Continuing to the debate that
Go ahead. Can you hear us now?
Can you hear me now? Okay, Bill Gillum,
They can't hear you.
No. No.
Mike Dungis,
Yes.
Paul Clifford,
No.
Pam,
No.
Thomas,
Yes.
Michael Talbot,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.
The vote is 5-5. Chair votes yes to send it to general committee.
Mr. President, can you caller 25, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you mute caller 25, please?
I don't have a password. So.
Is that better? you guys today.
I don't know if we're down or.
That's better. And now you've got everybody muted, so that'll work. So the rest of us that are on the board can unmute as we need to. And we lost you again, by the way, Mr. Chairman. We can't hear you.
You guys hear me? Thank you, and thank you for bearing with me. This has been a challenge. Okay, so we're still under miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. Alderman DePoy.
Mr. President, in light of the current technological problems that we seem to be having, I would like to make a motion to refer to committee, general committee, the notion of meeting in person again sometime at as quickly as we possibly can. I just think that the technology has not caught up with the times yet. We've been struggling for a year doing this, and maybe if we can meet in person, we can avoid some of that. Maybe we have a hybrid situation, but that's all stuff that can be determined in a general committee meeting to discuss this issue. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that has been seconded to refer to general committee the notion of us getting back to in-person meetings. Is there any discussion, debate? Alderman Garuso, followed by Alderman Dunges.
Where are we going with this? Just we're just making a motion. Are we putting it in committee or?
Yes, this would just be the motion to general committee to discuss a return to in-person.
All right, because I feel bad because Alderman DePoy is not going to be able to eat dinner. Well, unless I guess he could eat in the boardroom. But
we've eaten pizza in the boardroom, Sam. We've eaten
know.
pizza, so come on.
One of the things is I think we should look into. I think it'll work is to get a new number. We've used the same number and all the spams following us, and they should look into getting a new number assigned, set of numbers. And I think that's going to clear a lot of it because that's what these are, just spam numbers that are following us. So just to throw that out. So that's a suggestion.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. Alderman Dungeon.
I'd like to, I absolutely appreciate Tom's perspective, and I think we should 100% do that. I'm going to support it, but I would also like to add to that motion an amendment that we also look into using better technology to do this so that the public that's not comfortable meeting in the boardroom can meet remotely, and not knocking the software, but there's better options out there. So.
Do you have a second for the amended motion to refer?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion as amended to refer to general committee meeting in person, as well as exploring options to have a hybrid model for once we do return. Is there any further discussion, questions, debate? If not, all those in favor of the referral, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. We are still under miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. Is there anything?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, well, if I may, I know that there's a proposal to go into executive session. And before we do that, I think this conversation has to be done in public session. In the 30 years that I've sat on the Board of Aldermen, not once have we called for a recall vote because we didn't like the results of the first vote. And I think this is unfortunate. You can smile, you can laugh, But when you sit here and you see them block, you're block voting, I think it's unfortunate. So whoever the individual was that didn't vote or didn't feel that they voted correctly, that's unfortunate. I understand that. It may be frustrating. I understand that. But it doesn't require that this board takes a revote. So I'm also, Jenny Gardner, and her little comments are also annoying. It's just unfortunate that that we have to put up with that participation as well. But it's unfortunate when you have people that step up to do what they want to do to help serve the city, to commit the time to the city. There are people such as Dave O'Brien, who has a great deal of expertise, who's been a city planner, who's been a state planner. So I really don't understand some of the negatives to this. And I also question, why are we in executive session, except for the fact that we don't vote openly? So I need to be convinced why we have to go into executive session and why we don't have this debate in open session. And I guess the other thing is, why are we re-voting when we've never gone down that road before?
Alderman Talbot, I have you next, but if I may clarify, I do believe we're going into executive session just to make sure that this vote was done appropriately. It's my understanding that we are not going to re-vote, but we need to be sure that we follow the correct procedure. And I would let Attorney Bloomer say why that has to be an executive session. I don't know. So first I have Alderman Talbot, followed by Alderman Caruso.
Yeah, so it seems to me that each time we've done this electronic voting for appointments, there's been irregularities, right? And this time there were irregularities again, and there are two highly contested appointments. So we do need to look more closely at it. In addition to that, was there a call put out for people to volunteer their names to serve in these positions? My understanding is that there was not. It was simply a matter of the mayor approaching people. So I think it seems less like people are putting their names out there rather than being asked to serve.
Thank you, Alderman Talbot. I had Alderman Caruso up next.
I don't know. I was just going to say that the 11-0 votes proved to me that everything went right somewhere. That's why I was kind of against it, and as far as disappointment goes, I mean, heck, nobody's more disappointed my whole life. I mean, my mom and dad would have me watch the elections because my dad was affected by them working for the city, and my whole life I would be watching them, and there would be some disappointing things that happened, and obviously last March there were some, and we get disappointed, and being disappointed is not usually a good reason to go back. I mean, I love you guys, and I'm not trying to beat anybody up, but the 11-0 shows that somebody knew what they were doing. The 6-4s, I don't know, but the 11-0s, I mean, I think somebody knew what they were doing. So that's why I'd been against this. That's all. And I'm sorry it didn't work out, but I'm sorry it didn't work out in March for me either. So.
Thank you, Alderman Caruso. Alderman Clifford, followed by Alderman Franco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just in response to Alderman Talbot's comments, as long as I've been on this board, and even back in the late 80s to the mid 90s, okay, it's always been the mayor's call. Okay, I've never heard of people being asked to like put a blanket request out there for people to serve. It's always been the mayor's call and the mayor's prerogative to ask who he would have serve on any board, okay, to the betterment of the city of Rutland.
Thank you, Alderman Clifford. Alderman Franco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, I guess, try to describe what's happening here a little more for the public, because I know that the forum is not open to everyone to see or to understand what's going on behind the scenes here. I think that the 11-0 really is not any indication that everyone voted for what they needed to. The form itself, I won't go into too much detail, but is essentially a list that is kind of alternating and any real order of a pattern of a bunch of check boxes with a bunch of names for different positions. And you might see one person up for one position up here, and then 5 spots down, see their name again for voting no. And then you get 2 back to back. So it's really, to be quite honest, a chaotic mess. And I can see a case where someone would vote for the ones that had 11 no's and then not realize that they hadn't even voted for one of the other positions. This request really is not saying let's go back because we're not happy with the results. This is us ensuring that everyone who was intending to vote a certain way did so, or if they intended to abstain, and that's inclusive of abstaining, that is clearly marked. I think in any case in person where we would be doing this, if the intention is to abstain, that would be very clearly indicated by either an abstention option on the ballot, or if it was not a secret ballot, then choosing to abstain and that being acknowledged in the record. So I really just see this as an opportunity for us to clear the record on setting straight who or if there was an abstention, and that being properly recorded where necessary. And the fact that others see this as some sort of attack on certain individuals or whatever the case, really, I mean, that's not what's at play here. We are trying to ensure that we have a clear and adequate record of what the vote was. And I think the public deserves that, given that these are critical key posts for the city, and we were elected to confirm these. This process is here for a reason. The mayor can't simply, choose who he wants. He has to put them up for nomination and for an official vote. And that's what we're asking for here.
Thank you, Alderman Franco. Alderman Gillum.
I've been around a while too, so this has happened before, and I believe that this person, whoever they are, exercises their right to vote, which is a basic right. If they chose to vote for the others and not those two, so be it. I don't think it was a mistake myself. If you look at the electronical website there, it's very clear to me how the voting would go and who to vote for. Either yes or no. You got yeses and you got no's. So I think this person knew what they were doing because they voted for the others. So I think this should stand. I don't understand why we're not fulfilling the wishes of the individual who decided to abstain those two. So.
Thank you, Alderman Gillum. Alderwoman Savage.
My only question would be, does the person who abstained know their abstention would equal to a yes vote? That would be my only question.
Alderman Franco.
Thank you. I just want to add that, while some aldermen have decided that, ultimately this person chose to abstain, we simply don't know. And that's what the issue is here, is we don't know if this individual chose to abstain. So without doing any sort of verification in this, we have no idea. So we can't look at it as a matter of we should respect that person chose to abstain. We simply do not know. And that's been conceded here multiple times. I don't understand why, we're still on this part.
Thank you, Alderman Franco. Alderman DePoy.
Mr. President, I think I'd like to ask Attorney Bloomer a question here, and that question is this. This was a secret ballot. So, we can say, well, did that person mean to abstain or not? Did this person mean to vote yes or not? I mean, maybe at this point, I'm not even sure if I voted correctly. I know I did, but who's to say in this 6-4-1 vote at this point, maybe we all voted the wrong way, but you know what? The vote has been taken, and the person had the opportunity to vote and decided not to. That's my belief. They just decided not to. And if that's the case, then that's their option at this point. you know, a secret ballot is just that. You don't have to have the answers to why it turned out the way it did. If people don't like the secret ballot, we as a board can change that. That's in our rules. We can change that to an open ballot, either yay or nay. And I'm perfectly fine with that too. You know, we can go to that and we can send that to committee and hash that out. But right now, this vote was taken. It was taken in a secret ballot. And my question is to Alderman or to Attorney Bloomer, in a secret ballot, do you have to know the answers to how people voted?
I'm not sure exactly the question that you're asking, but I think in general, I would make the point that a defective ballot in a secret ballot situation, I think, is normally ignored because, I guess, to your point, it's difficult to know who submitted what ballot. There's not a way to go back and you know, confirm that all ballot, you know, who cast which ballot. And by the same token, I mean, the normal, as most of you know, the normal parliamentary procedure for a revote would be a reconsideration motion where the you know, two members of the prevailing side of the vote would agree to reconsider the vote, but obviously that doesn't apply here either because it's unknown who was on the prevailing side.
Alderman Franco, followed by Alderwoman Davis.
Yes, I just want to point out that we are governed by the rules of the board, which stipulate that we follow the most current version of Robert's rules. And to my understanding, the most current version of Robert's rules has stipulated for the most recent environment we are in, which is one of COVID-19, the pandemic, and has rules specific to electronic voting. Because of that, I would like us to consult that. I would like the Attorney Bloomer as our parliamentarian to consult that, to give us a clear indication of whether our voting procedure with the electronic form that was used meets the defined criteria within Robert's rules, and that all rules were followed for this secret ballot vote. Since to, you know, Alderwoman Davis's point, this is a road we have not gone down, but COVID-19 and this pandemic, you know, really is new for a lot of us, and for understanding how to navigate this environment, I would feel most comfortable if we gave the opportunity to actually consult the rules that we as a board have adopted, which is the most current version of Robert's rules. And so I'm not sure what the exact move here is. I guess, would it be to table? I'm not sure. Attorney Bloomer, maybe you could assist with that. That's my ultimate request.
Yeah, I think it would possibly be to recess, although I don't know if we have access to those rules readily tonight. But otherwise, I guess it would be adjourning to a time certain, because I think the appointments need to be acted upon at the meeting following their nominations.
Alderwoman Davis.
So my question is to the city attorney. What if, obviously we're split 5-5. So what if 5 aldermen who have voted not to go into an executive session choose not to revote?
Revote on the appointments, you mean?
Correct.
There needs to be 7 votes against the appointments. So if 5 members abstained and the other 6 voted against the appointments, then the appointments would stand.
Alderman Gillum.
you know, for common decency here, we got some good people here all the way up and down the ballot here, including a zoning administrator that needs to get in there and get to work because we got a lot of stuff going on out there that needs to be taken care of. We should be holding this up. Let's go on with it. Come on.
So if I could, I'll try to restate the motion to the best of my ability as chair as I understand it. It was to go into executive session to determine that we somehow did not violate any rules or procedure in this vote, so that therefore we're not opening ourselves up to any challenge or invalidating of the vote. So when Attorney Bloomer recommended executive session, it seemed worthwhile for the 10 minutes to understand why we would not be at risk, or potentially why we would be. Alderman Franco, I think I saw your hand.
No, it was on a previous point.
I apologize. Then if there's no other discussion or debate, we have already voted to go into executive session. Attorney Bloomer has sent the link. So I will see you all in executive session and we will discuss this. So we're still under miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. It has been seconded. Would all those in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? One no.
No.
Thank you. All right, we stand adjourned.